overturn it and get rid of them. It is an issue in our area. It is coming. It was just a matter of time before it does get here. We're just making a statement that as for this council, as for this time in our city's history, we are not wanting to see red light cameras come in here. This is a resolution, not an ordinance. If another council that comes after us would like to change that, they have every ability to do that. But as for myself, during my time on the council, I have 3 more years left. I would not like to see this issue brought up before us. And so this is a preemptive resolution that will keep this discussion off the table, and other future councils could bring it back on the table. It's an issue that in many places cities are finding themselves winding up in court over the issue. So as monies become available through different grants or different funding sources, that temptation to be able to grab that money to pay for a traffic camera may be there in the future. That's the other aspect of this as well. There are a lot of law enforcement grants coming down now from the federal government, Department of Justice. We're just saying that if we're going to move in those directions, we would like to make a statement that we do not want these. Future council wants to change that, they have every ability to do this. Basically, this vote comes down to if you support a ban on red light cameras, then vote for it. If you support the cameras, then vote against it. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, the resolution actually talks about photo enforcement cameras, so it would be red light cameras and radar cameras, speed cameras, both. Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The reason for why I put this agenda bill together and this resolution in the first place was to define for our city, and at the request as well of constituent, but to define for the city where our position actually is. It's one thing to say that we have no ordinance on the books and that nobody's talking about it. Well, now we are. But it's another thing to actually say that we actually have a position on this, and the position is not just that we're not enforcing it yet, but we actually disagree with this method of handing out tickets. Nobody's questioning the fact that we don't like people running red lights or people speeding in school zones. That's not an issue. In the state of Washington, there are 3 places that a city can put photo enforcement cameras. One is at railroad crossings, one's at red lights, and one is in school districts. And the reality is we've got all 3 of those in our city. However, we are also, if I understand correctly, in the proposed budget, we are including a new funded police officer position whose sole job is going to be traffic enforcement. With that increased traffic enforcement, we will find that our fellow citizens are very likely going to tame their driving habits. And it won't just be at the school, just at the red lights, or just at the railroad crossings. It'll be anywhere, very mobile device. What's beautiful about a police officer being on the street and being able to pull you over immediately and say, did you see what you just did? Is that you're able to defend your actions or not in the moment, actually knowing the facts of the case and knowing what was happening in the moment. There are many problems with red light cameras and photo enforcement cameras, and my biggest problems about them revolve around whether somebody got a ticket who was actually not driving the car, which is an issue, whether the machinery itself was not tweaked just right, or whether or not you can actually defend your actions weeks later when you receive a ticket in the mail. With this resolution, the idea behind it, as Mr. Russell mentioned, is that it is a resolution. It can be repealed by any council in the future if we decide to go down that road. But it's a resolution that puts us on the map and having a certain position. And I yield the floor.
Dave?
I'll defer to Mr. Morris. We can go first. He hasn't spoken.
Doesn't matter to me who goes first. Everybody's going to have a chance, so.
If I may. This is the second time tonight I'm unable to support my colleague, Councilman Delavar, and that tugs at my heartstrings. I've talked with him at some length about this after the meeting a couple of weeks ago. I've talked with the mayor. I've talked with the chief of police. And I agree with the comment that the mayor made, which was He doesn't want to take a tool out of the police chief's toolbox. That resonates with me. The other thing is that no one has brought forward a proposal to institute these red light cameras. And if they were to do that, then we could have a very thorough discussion and investigation of it at the time, which I don't think we've had at this point. I don't want to head off that discussion. So I will be voting no on this one tonight, and I regret that.
Yes. I just wanted to make a few comments. I do have some problems with some of the paragraphs within the resolution. In my personal opinion, some of the points are subjective, very subjective. And they're making statements, very general statements, and I don't really think they've been vetted, and I would like to see some more discussion as far as these very strong statements are concerned. And I'm just curious to know if Councilman Delavar has actually read the state statute as far as these traffic cameras. Because the RCW 46.63.170 has very specific requirements as far as intersections for these cameras. If we ever were to be approached by our law enforcement wanting to install these, I'm not even sure we qualify for these cameras. Number one, they call them automated traffic safety cameras, which is completely different than what the resolution is referring to. And the first restriction I notice is that it is restricted to 2 arterial intersections. And I'll yield the floor to Director Evers, if you can please confirm if the City of Washougal has 2 arterial intersections.
We do, both River Road, Washougal River Road and East Street, and 32nd and Evergreen, East Street as well.
Okay, so when they say 2 arterial intersections, they're not referring to actual roads, they're referring to a specific type of road?
Arterial is a classification.
Oh, it's a classification.
Yeah,
of a
the
road.
only major arterial we have
Okay.
within town is East Street.
Okay, I stand corrected there. It was an interesting find for me when I was reading, and I wasn't aware that we even qualified as having an arterial in the City of Washougal. We are very small, and we have very minimal traffic signals, so I'm glad to know we actually have arterials. And railroad crossings and school speed zones only. We don't even have a light near a school, so that really wouldn't qualify there either. And, you know, as I said, if you don't have a law such as this on the books, you're not really supposed to have these safety cameras in place anyway. And a municipal government or a county government would actually have to pass an ordinance in order to even gain permission to put these devices into their cities or into their county areas. So that will be another discussion for another day. As far as I'm concerned, there's really no reason to address this issue until it comes to the City of Washougal.
Jennifer? Paul?
I admit I was a little surprised that Councilman Delavar brought this forward early